Well, thank you, Chief, for coming in.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. And next, we're going to hear from Supervisor Heise.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kurt Heise, Plymouth Township Supervisor. First of all, I just want to say thank you all on the Planning Commission for your dedication. We don't say thank you enough to you, but as you know, under state law, a Planning Commission is an adjunct of the Township Board of Trustees. I mean, you serve in our place to address these issues before they get to our level. So again, I want to thank you for your service. In my 7 years as Township Supervisor, this is only the second time I have come before the Planning Commission on an active issue. And my reasons tonight are multi-leveled, really. First of all, obviously this is a very unique project. This is the only racetrack left in the state of Michigan, and so it carries with it a great deal of extra effort that we all have to put into the analysis. Secondly, as you may know, under state law, the host community of a racetrack in Michigan is entitled to what's known as breakage fees, which is basically a form of revenue sharing. And so the township would have a fiduciary interest in this project, more so than what we would in any other type of project. Breakage fees, I'm sure they'll discuss more in detail in later, but for us right now, we've estimated those numbers to be anywhere from $250,000 to $300,000 a year that we could generate right now. That's assuming everything is stagnant at current Northville City levels. We would anticipate that with a new facility, trying to be more of a community partner, that those revenues would increase over time. That's certainly their challenge, and their challenge would be our benefit. So I think as a board of trustees, we're very interested in this project because obviously we would be able to generate a fair amount of money, which would be very beneficial to us. My recommendation tonight is that you would agree with the findings of the planner and the engineer, and that you would approve the PUD and send it with an affirmative response to the Board of Trustees so that we can then take that matter up. There's really going to be a kind of a two-phased approach to this project. And again, that's because of the uniqueness of this project. So what you have before you tonight is the PUD, the Planned Unit Development. And Laura's done a great job of outlining all of the things that you should be looking for in that PUD, and I agree with those. My request is that you would stay within the four corners of the development site itself, okay? Because the things that Laura has outlined are generally unique to the site itself: the pathway, lighting, hours of operation, stormwater management, public amenities, energy conservation, geothermal, solar, some of the other things that they have brought to the table, really before we even asked for it. So I would prefer that this board address those issues and then send it off to the Board of Trustees, because the second phase of this is going to be a community benefit agreement. I don't think we have a community benefit agreement with any other business or development in the township. And a community benefit agreement would encompass what I would consider the policy issues and the financial issues that are inherent to this very unique project. We don't want to tip our hand yet fully as to what we're looking for as a board, or what I may be looking for, but we would certainly like to see more recreational enhancements, whether that is in the form of financial support or something in amenities such as soccer fields on site, for example. I would like to personally see the return of fireworks to Plymouth Township. This would be, I think, a perfect venue for that. This is also a great location for outdoor concerts, other types of venues. We're not talking about, Metallica or anything like that. I'm just thinking about like a community band or Michigan Philharmonic or somebody like that. Keep it nice. Because I know in my conversations with the city of Plymouth, they're turning away events every week, 5K runs, concerts, other community benefit activities, that they can no longer handle in the city, or they can handle at Kellogg Park because they're booked. And that's not unusual in this community, because we have a ton of arts, cultural, music, sports, and recreational opportunities. So I look at this site as part of the recreational amenities for both the township and the city. So similar to USA Hockey Arena, similar to Hilltop Golf Course, or the Inn at St. John's. So these are all these public or quasi-public or private entities that exist in the township that do provide recreational opportunities for us. Those are the kinds of policy and detailed issues that I think the board would like to take up with them at the appropriate time. And again, that's a give and take. That's a negotiation process. We're not going to negotiate that tonight, but that is something that they know is coming down the road, assuming it gets out of this group first. So again, I would just ask that you focus on the real property issues that you can deal with here tonight, and if you could link the money and the policy and some of the other recreational issues up to the board, so that we can negotiate with them and have some flexibility and some give and take on what that's going to look like. I just want to also mention one other thing, and that is, I know we've seen some media reports that we're asking $25 million from the state of Michigan for this project, and that is not the case at all. This is part of the MITC, or the Michigan International Technology Center Brownfield Redevelopment Zone, which encompasses all the old the Hillco prison properties on both Plymouth and Northville side of 5 Mile. And as a result, 5 Mile Road is in terrible condition. We all recognize that it has to be fixed. The road is the property and maintenance of Wayne County. And so what we're trying to do is we in Plymouth and Northville have been working now for at least 5 years, trying to get funding from the state of Michigan, preferably, to rebuild 5 Mile Road from Napier to back. I see our state senators here tonight, so I'm making that ask one more time. So I'm sure everybody got this there. So what we're going to do is that ask has been out there for years, and if this project were to go away, we would still be making that ask. So there's no linkage between state tax money or local tax money, for that matter, and the rehabilitation of 5 Mile or this particular project. I think that's all I have, board members. If you have, through the chair, if you have questions for me.
Any questions for the supervisor?
It would be completely privately held corporation, company, venue.
This would be a privately held corporation. The township would not be a partner in any way, other than under state law, we are allowed the so-called breakage fees.
Any other questions?
So the township wouldn't be responsible at all for anything at this site, anything that goes on, is that correct?
That may be subject to negotiation, because I know that there's been some concern about the pathway. As Laura pointed out at the beginning, back in 2016, the township created a linear parkway on both sides of the Johnson Creek, and that was done for environmental preservation of the creek. So what we would like to see, again, what we have been asking for from the previous developer, was that pathway that would go up along the creek. Where that pathway crosses their property and goes into our zone is something that we would have to deal with them. I would prefer that if the path were a public amenity, that the township would be responsible for it, because I really don't want to be dealing with a third party on what will basically be a recreation maintenance project. So I would prefer that be part of the township's responsibility. But again, that's something we have to work out with them.
Okay, as far as being a fiduciary though, there's no responsibility on the township for the actual use of the race horsing facility?
No, other than the fact that we are looking for community benefits from this site. I listed a few, like concerts and fireworks and soccer, things like that. The fiduciary responsibility that I refer to is the fact that under state law, we collect this revenue sharing. And so that's what makes this project very unique. and the property taxes as well, in this case, would currently go to the MITC Brownfield Authority. Now, if the state of Michigan were to come in and give us $25 million, then that equation changes radically, because then the MITC won't need that money for the road, and really we might be able to wind down the brownfield altogether, and then that tax revenue would go back to the townships directly.
If,
Any other questions?
Is the site a brownfield designated site?
The entire MITC corridor is designated a brownfield site, so that would be all of the former Detroit House of Corrections properties on the Plymouth Township side, all the way from Napier to where the Home Depot is right now. And on the Northville side, there's several parcels, again, from Napier all the way over to where the so-called Jean Dane building, which is on the Northville side. That's a Chinese automotive company. They're on the Northville side right now, and that's pretty much the eastern boundary of the MITC for the Northville people.
And for the benefit of everyone in the room, could you explain what a brownfield designated site is?
Well, a brownfield site is a site that requires environmental remediation. It's designated by the local governments, which we did back in 2017. That was then authorized by the state of Michigan. And so a brownfield site is eligible for a tax abatement that can then be used by the developer to finance the environmental cleanups that are necessary at the site. And there's a variety of environmental issues in some of the parcels, but the beauty of the MITC authority is that we have been able to bundle all of these parcels together and designate them all as brownfield. And so the primary reason for that is so that we could, if necessary, leverage the funding to rebuild 5 Mile Road.
Anything else? All right.
All right.
Well, thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much.
Supervisor.